This is being written while I'm watching season 1 for Efforts for Family, and will be like a mixture between my first impressions of each season and my written assessments for each season as we go through all 5 seasons, since I think the 5th season that came out last year is the last season. Efforts for Family is a Netflix animated show created by Bill Burr and Michael Price. The show consists of a simple suburban dysfunctional family of 5 as they go through life as they do in the 70s. The intro for this show was something that I feel like most fans and students of animation would fan over because it is an amazing animation piece. Very clean, tells you the focus of the story and the main character, and that's all you really need to know sometimes, with a good song on it as well. My first impression of Efforts for Family Season 1 is that it was okay. At least the beginning was just okay because I was getting used to how all the characters interacted with each other. But later on it started developing into something else, especially towards the end. I do like how in the beginning that it kind of felt like the time period was 1973, and it definitely felt like they were stuck in 1973, rather if it was like a period of time they wanted to portray, or if they wanted to do like a sitcom set in this time. I think it portrayed that well, especially with with Frank's perception of like women and black people and everything else like that. I think that it made it kind of uncomfortable a little bit for me, but then it also made sense because it was set in 1973. I think that was the date. When it comes to the rest of the characters, I think only Frank, Sue, and Kevin really stood out to me. I think Kevin stood out a lot to me because I'm used to being the Kevin in a situation. I'm the older brother. I'm the one that's a little more rambunctious, a little more rebellious, a little more rock and roll, if you catch my drift. So I can understand Kevin's side of things a little bit better. Maybe that's why I think he stood out the most, because I really don't think any of the kids really had a spotlight, but I guess I just related to Kevin the most, I guess. Bill didn't really do anything this season. I can't remember the sister's name. And Jimmy is basically the foil of Bill for some reason. I think his name's Bill. It kind of just felt like a sitcom set in this time period, to be honest. Like every other sitcom you think that was set in times like this is basically that, just in cartoon form. And then the ending starts coming around, you see glimpses of something better when Sue's like, I want to be more than a mom, I want to be more than a housewife. You see more glimpses of that when Frank actually gets fired from his job at the airport, and then he comes home, it's all sad, yada yada. I really enjoyed this. You know, towards the end I really started to enjoy this. I've already started season 2, but because I didn't think of this until in between watching season 2. But you know, hopefully season 2 is really good, especially towards the end. I really like how it's going so far. As mentioned earlier, season 1 didn't start off as interesting to me. I've realized watching a lot of these adult animations that the first season doesn't really intrigue me as much as it does later on. But something always keeps me watching, and that was easy to understand why for things like Final Space and Inside Job. But for this, I have no idea why I'm so intrigued. The family is a group of angry, crazy white people that can be shown easily on the last episode of season 1. There are a couple of things that I do hope they work on in the later seasons. I want to see more of the sexism and racism portrayed during this time. It is shown within here, mostly with Frank, who is one of the most conservative people you could ever think of within the show, i.e. J-97. But that's really all I can think that should continue story-wise, but also kind of keep the comedy going as well. Efforts for Family Season 2. Honestly, I think I'm starting to like this show a little bit more. It's building off of what they established during Season 1, whereas that one was a bit more loose at the beginning and started having more of a story thing towards the end. This one had a consistent story throughout the entire season. It could be split into like 3 or 4 parts. One being the marriage counseling between Frank and Sue, the other being Jimmy, Bill, that whole situation, and the other being Kevin, just doing Kevin stuff. What I liked the most from this was it was played more seriously. While yes, Frank does say a lot of jokes and kind of just gets angry all the time and yells, like, dude, if you played a drinking game and put yell as one of the things, like, you would be drunk by the end of the first episode, like dead probably by the end of the first episode, by how many times these characters yell. But Yeah, I genuinely liked it for what it was. I think Frank is a very, I think I used the word conservative, a very conservative character that is very much so stuck in his ways, very much so traditional, very much so doesn't necessarily see women and people of color in a very good light. So this season has him put into different situations where he has to accept people for who they are, like Ross's friend who ends up giving him a job that he can work with while trying to find something out, get himself back up together with his family. And with the whole women's situation, he has to grow and try to understand Sue and what she wants and kind of want to be there for her. He always kind of put himself first, saying he has to be the man of the family, and he feels like he's not the man anymore since he got fired and she's the breadwinner now, and it's just a lot of stuff that's going on between that part. Bill and Jimmy. Somehow, I think one of the things I really liked about season 1 was Jimmy, and that's just because he's a dick, and I love his bully character. It's genuinely so funny. So, like, this season has Bill doing a lot more crazy stuff. Like, he's basically saying fuck everything right now. He's stealing, he's doing the ding dong ditch. Is that what you call it when you escape from a restaurant without paying? Is that what it's called? He was doing that. He was doing a lot of bad stuff, and one of the bad things he did was stole a hockey stick and blamed it on Jimmy. He said his name was Jimmy, and Jimmy got sent to military school because of it. And towards the end, Jimmy came back and they had this whole thing, like Jimmy was gonna kick his ass, and then Jimmy got hit by a fucking car. And now I'm not sure where the relationship is going to be forward. I would really be interested to see where the relationship is going to be forward. Kevin, I don't know what I can say about Kevin. He's basically the same character that he was in the first season, except the way he's growing is a bit different. Like in the early episodes, he was being teased for being a virgin. I didn't know that this was going to be a full story that carried on towards the end of the season. I did not know that. I thought it was just a one-off thing. But they talked about this haircut girl. He met this haircut girl. He didn't end up banging a haircut girl. Nope, he definitely did not. And he was upset. Really upset. And Vic's girl was there. I don't know if that's his girlfriend or wife. I honestly didn't know at this point. But somehow, some way, they end up doing it. And what? This is worse than Morty and Planetina. Like, fucking Kevin's 14. Kevin's 14 and this woman's like in her like mid-20s or early 20s. I don't fucking know, but Kevin's 14. What? But he ends up getting this really big guilt about it and ends up eating him alive until he has to just confess it to Vic. And Vic has a breakdown, goes on this really long cocaine high up until the point where he accepts how things turned out and realized that things weren't really all peaches and roses for him, and he was just lying to himself. And now he has to kind of go clean, and he wants to go clean and kind of start anew. So it's going to be interesting to see where Vic goes from here, honestly, as well. I think Kevin's going to basically still be doing Kevin stuff. I think the family, I don't know. Like, alright, predictions for season 3, because I think that'll be a fun thing to do now. Predictions for season 3. Kevin's gonna be the same person. Bill maybe ends up developing some sort of a brother relationship with Jimmy. That'd honestly be interesting. I'm not really sure what to say for the sister. Like, there was this one thing, like, you know, she's smart, she likes computers, she wants to do these guy things, so maybe express that a bit more. I'm not sure in what type of way you can. And when it comes to Frank and Sue, I would hope Frank gets his job back at the airport. I would think that I can assume that based on what happened at the end of season 2. I hope their relationship is like great now. Not necessarily like all peaches and roses, yada yada, happy ending type stuff, but like a realism type of great. Like, they still have a couple arguments every now and then, but overall they're there for each other and they love each other and want to support each other for what they do. I think that's what it built up, and I think that's what it should stay as currently. Season 2 had more of a concise story to go along with it. The humor was still there, but it wasn't a huge part of the season like it was during season 1. I like the build up of Sue and Frank becoming stronger at the end. Everything was going wrong for the family, with it all accumulating with them going on some sort of a marriage retreat. That was really interesting for them to do. And I still cannot believe that that was the ending for season 2. I recommend looking at my friend As Told by Key's video on Sue for details on her character and her role in the family and how it relates to feminism during the time. It's quite an interesting watch if you ask me. I'm not sure what they were trying to do with Bill and Maureen. Like, I understand the story when it comes to Bill, but why is it the story? Why is it happening? Is this how most people started doing bad things in their life? They have still yet to do a story with Maureen. That's why I'm not sure what they'll do with her next season. They still have yet to do a story with Marie, which is why I'm not sure what they'll do with her next season. The things they did with her during season 1 was say things like, oh, she doesn't like doing things that other girls like doing. And in this one, it was like, oh, she likes math and computers and it's really smart for a girl. Oh my god, is this leading to something? Is it not? I genuinely have no idea. So I just finished F is for Family season 3. This season probably felt the most to me. Like, I kind of get where everything's going, yada yada. It was more the same that we got from season 2. It's focusing way more on the story than it is the actual plots of things. It's building up to eventual payoffs instead of paying you off every bit of an episode, which is still a bit weird to me because I do see this as a sitcom at face value. But it's not a sitcom, it's definitely more story driven than most like cartoon sitcoms are that's out there. But let's go ahead and focus on the story. The story itself is kind of similar to season 2, where season 2 focused on Frank's relationship with Sue. This one kind of continues that, but also it focuses on Frank and Sue's relationship, but mostly Frank's, with the kids. Because this season was mainly about them not understanding what the kids want and not paying attention to what all of the kids are getting into. Like, they didn't understand all the bad influences that was happening with Kevin and Bill, and they didn't understand any of Marie's wants. And I think her name's Marie, or is it Maurice? I can't remember her name at all. I feel like she's one of those characters that's just kind of there. Like, y'all have so many characters, Jesus Christ. But her character's in the midst of changing and developing because, Sue's pregnant, and she's gonna end up being a middle child, and she feels like she's gonna end up being left behind since Kevin and Bill put that in her head at the beginning of the season, and she's kind of been ignored for this entire season, so that's really in her head that she's gonna get left behind. And everybody's kind of feeling like an afterthought, not one person feels like they're more important than the other. Everybody feels like they're not important to Frank at all. But whereas season 2 had a lot of different story elements going on throughout it, like Kevin had his own thing, Bill had his own thing, Maurice had her own thing. In this one, I think it was mainly just the Frank stuff and Bill's stuff, like everybody else had a little bit of something, but not necessarily something that paid off at the end like it did during season 2. This one mainly just focused on the new neighbor. Oh my god, we have a new neighbor. I think his name was Chet, and Jesus Christ, he was made to be a dick right from the beginning. I don't know how we were supposed to feel for him towards the end. I don't know. I didn't feel anything for him because he was a dick for the entire time. I felt a lot more for, his partner person thing. I'm honestly not sure what I should say about her. I'm guessing that was his partner, but he treated her very bad, and I don't want to say her name because I don't know, is that her actual name? Is it kind of culturally insensitive to say her name? I'm not sure, so I'm just not gonna say her name. But that was the main focus of season 3, and I don't think I liked all the screen time that this new character got, where, we could have got some more stuff with Kevin or some more stuff with Sue and her, salad tossing, venturing stuff. We could have got a lot more stuff with other characters that we already grown to know, but all the screen time was taken by these new characters that, frankly, I just don't care about. This took place during the summer. We got a couple of summer things, like Kevin went to summer school like once. We're supposed to go there continuously. It's whatever. They went on vacation once and it was shitty. Saw Sue's parents, so I guess that's cool. Yeah, I don't think there was really anything of importance that happened this season. This kind of felt like it was treading grounds, if you ask me. I hope during season 4 that, I don't know, what. Alright, they already teased that something crazy is gonna happen during season 4 because Frank's father's coming. At least we saw that note at the end of season 3, and that makes it seem sort of interesting because that's where a lot of his baggage comes from, is his issues he has with his father. So I'd really love to see some of that when that comes to fruition during season 4. And I don't know what else they can do in season 4. Bill and Bridget are no more? Yep, that's right, that was the thing. I almost forgot to mention that. That was Bill's entire story, was his relationship with Bridget and how much she, like, I don't know, treats him like a dick. I don't know. She wants like a manly man, but also she wants to be with him, so she wants him to be a manly man, even though he's frankly not a manly man. It's weird. I just don't know what I want from season 4. What can Kevin do? Is he gonna get back with his band? Is he not? What can Maurice do, or Marie? I still don't know her name. Frankly, I don't think I care. What can she do? Is she gonna have some sort of a big character moment? Because I don't think she's had a character moment yet. She has had a couple of steps towards a character moment, but not necessarily a gigantic character moment. When the baby comes, how is that gonna change things within this family? I just don't know. One big con that I see within here is that they're not necessarily keeping any development forward. Like at the end of season 2, Frank's like, yeah, we're gonna focus more on each other, we're gonna support each other, yada yada yada. But then in season 3, he had this thing with Chad and he kind of dismissed Sue and everything. So at the end of here, he's like, yep, I'm not gonna be like my father and I'm gonna pay attention to you guys and my whole family a lot more. And I want to know if that's going to be a thing during season 4. Like, I feel like that's going to be the main focus of him trying not to be his father, but ended up feeling like he is. But that was already the story they did within season 3. He should be acting like he's not his father at this point, but I don't know. I really don't know. I genuinely don't. I hope season 4 is better though, because I just didn't care for season 3 as much as seasons 1 and 2. And I want to see what's going to happen in season 5, since that is the end. Season 3 overall is the most average season that they have released so far, and just made bizarre choices within here. Like, why have this whole story in season 2 where Vic says he's gonna go sober just for Frank to offhandedly say he liked him better on drugs during an angry outburst, and that's enough to make him relapse? I genuinely dislike that on all storytelling levels. Like, it's not even a good joke, honestly. Nothing really happened during this season, that's what it felt like at least. Even Jimmy is more of a side character than normal. Acting as Jimmy's best friend now? Like, I'm supposed to be happy they're friends? But why? Hopefully they can pull it around within season 4, because the concept alone intrigues me a lot. Frank's father coming to visit, this has potential to be on par when Bodak's mother came to visit him. We can get so much backstory with Frank and understand why he grew up the way that he did, and I don't know, just understand him so much more. So I just finished season 4 and it kind of played off like I expected, but also kind of better. I really like how it started, because I had this whole idea in my mind. I'm like, okay, I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'm pretty sure he's going to come in and his father and come in and be aggressive and stuff. But that's not how it played out. He came in and he was playing this nice grandfather role, and he played that role for a good bit of episodes, and I was shocked to the point where I thought it was going to be really good, and just that he was over exaggerating stuff in his past, because kids tend to do that. Like, when you think of stuff you used to do as a kid, it's not exactly the same memory as the event that actually took place. You and a couple other people can have different memories of things that happened even. So that's kind of what I expected to happen with Frank, but I don't know, it was like his father was putting on this sort of act in a way, but also not. I'm really not sure what was going on. But you started to see signs of his father just being this dick with Bill when he took Bill out, and he started getting a bunch of boys together, and then he told Bill off, and that was one of the signs of he's a dick too. Okay, And you start to see, like, you know, where Frank got this from. You see some of the past. You start to see the world crumbling down between this entire family, and more specifically with the relationship with Frank, because Frank is a bit mixed when it comes to his emotions. Like, at first everybody hated him because he hated his father, and then everybody hated him because him and his father were getting too much along, and they were the exact same bitter old men, you know? And then it got into a really big brouhaha when he ended up punching his father, and I'm like, what? Like, he totally deserved it, like 100% he deserved it, but Jesus Christ, too much stuff was going on. And I really like the focus of this arc as well. I think this arc had a good bit of focus within it, in my opinion, better than seasons 2 and 3, at least for me. They played a little bit with some of the support characters, but not enough for me to mention them outside of Rosie. Everything else was kind of just surrounding Frank and his family's relationship towards him. Everything came to a point after he punched his father. Everybody just kind of feels like they're through with Frank. Like, everybody's been telling him he has to talk to him, yada yada yada, but he's kind of being the selfish person and putting his emotions and how he feels first, and then kind of at the end of the day, after everything bad that can happen happens, he finally takes in the lesson. And I can see how people get tired of that, but at the end of the day, that is your father, that is your husband. You should at least respect / love him and, you know, be there for him. But they just aren't, and they just kind of do their own stuff. I can see both sides. Honestly, I can see both sides. Especially when you're as young as these guys are, and when you're in the perspective of Sue, who is fucking pregnant, and at the end of the season is giving birth, and Frank's not around because he went on a trip to Cleveland to let everybody, like, get some breathing room from him. And it's just a lot that went on. It's just a lot that went on, and he had to rush home. Everybody was doing their own thing. Kevin has a girlfriend, by the way. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. But yeah, everybody had to rush home, and yep, the baby's born. It seems like he's yet again made a promise to be a better husband and be a better father. And just like he did at the end of almost every other season so far, I don't think that's going to hold up when the next season starts. But it's supposed to be the last season, so maybe it will. Maybe it will hold up. I don't know. When it comes to the rest of the cast, I don't think the rest of the cast really matters at this point, especially with this being the last season that we're about to see. So I'm really just trying to think of good things that can happen for this family, or things that can happen in general. It doesn't have to be good. Oh my god, I almost forgot to mention Frank's dad. He just fell out. I think he died at the end, and it's like, well, this happened out of nowhere. Like, I did make comparisons and said that I think this should be played like BoJack's events did when his mother came there, and it kind of did play like that. Like, you know, all of this emotional stuff kind of came to a boiling point, and he had to end up getting everything off his chest and coming to accept his thing. But unlike BoJack, he didn't have to accept it after the person died. He got to accept everything before his father passed, which is a good thing. Let's make genuine observations of what we think can happen in season 5. So we already know that most of the events are going to be surrounding the baby. I think the thing that should happen is we get to see how the kid's relationship changes now that the baby is around. Are some going to feel even more left out? You know, we got to see that a couple of seasons ago with Marine feeling like she's going to get left out. Is she going to feel like that now that the baby has arrived? That's going to be a good question, because he did, like, I think Frank did call the baby like his princess or something in the end, and that's usually what he calls Marine. So it's possible that, you know, Marine is indeed going to feel like she's being left out, left to the side, since she is like the only other girl there, and this new baby is going to be their second girl. I just don't know though, you know. I think that's the biggest thing I could probably say. I can't really predict anything that can happen in the actual story, because I don't know, the story just kind of is I feel like the story is because it just mainly focuses on like Mohican Airways, and I don't give a shit about Mohican Airways. I care about the relationship that's been building up surrounding this family and their dynamic and stuff. That's the part of the story that I really care about. And every other thing that happens with Mohican Airways and Neighborhood and other stuff like that, I just couldn't care less about. I'm gonna be honest. So, yeah. Season 4, episode structure and storytelling wise, it's the best that I've seen from this series so far. I mentioned Vic in the last one, so I'll mention him here. What are they doing with his character? He started off as this stereotypical hippie, druggy dude that got everything he wanted, great counterpart to Frank's character. When he dropped all the drugs, I thought they were gonna have some sort of a story with his character there of him facing reality and trying new hobbies for once, but they quickly just gave him the drugs back and now he's being portrayed as a sad old man, and I don't know, I just don't like his character as much as I did at first. I love the dynamic that happened between Frank and the entire family, and there's nothing more I can say about that. It's sad, anger-inducing, heartwarming, and why did his father die so weirdly? It's just, I don't know, it's just so weird and kinda abrupt. Hopefully season 5 ends the entire series with a bang. I don't think that they could do anything to wrap up and answer all the questions that the story has, but they can still end in a good way overall, so let's hope for the best. And yep, that was the end of season 5. Jokes on me for thinking that was also going to be 10 episodes because it was 8. So what do I think about this season? It kind of felt like a continuation of the 4th season, so this was the effects of what happened to Frank after his father died. What words did his father leave him with? Because he did leave him with something. He said something about box 16, and we were supposed to believe that was box 16, and that's what Frank was obsessed with for the entirety of this season. So this season kind of pushing the focus what the entire story was about. It's about how Frank affects everybody, how his negative energy, his negative attitude affects the entire family. And that was no different than here. We saw a lot of bad things happen. Marine getting into witchcraft for some reason, Bill becoming a delinquent in the police office place somehow with Jimmy, and I don't even know the fat dude's name. The dude with the funny voice, I can't recall his name, who has the funny baby brother. It's probably me. But now everything's kind of coming to a front because now he has a new kid. His job's just merged and he's trying to get into good graces of everybody there, and it's all just coming into him, especially now with this message he has to decipher that his father left him, because it has to be something that he can survive his life with, right? Some type of life wisdom, right? Well, that's what we all thought. That is what we all thought, but we know his father, I don't know. I'm still not sure what his father was supposed to do other than like bring Frank some sort of a reconciliation. I'm not sure what his father's character was exactly, or the point of him coming there. Was it just to fuck with Frank? Was it to actually reconcile some of the issues that he thought was going on? Did he even think there were issues going on? I'm not sure. I really don't know. This season really drove home the name of the show. F is for family. Family. Because of Frank's father dying, Sue wanted to reconcile some of the stuff she had going on with her family, about her father not liking Frank, her father not liking her brother because her brother's gay. There was a lot of stuff going on over here, and she wanted to bring them back together. They had a Thanksgiving thing, and Thanksgiving was kind of It was kind of but at least her brother's not back in her life. They were able to do some stuff. She now has a little business going on, teaching younger people about how to raise their kids. Kind of cool. And Frank's story, the main ending of this series, it was about his Christmas bonus. He wanted to get this very specific bonus for Christmas. Only one person was going to be able to win it, and he wanted to be that person. And so he got this guy that they've been showing on TV throughout the season. I think his name's Buster something, and he's supposed to do this jump over an airplane. And he did that jump, and then he said, fuck this place. So he didn't end up getting the bonus, even though I'm pretty sure it was I don't know if it was successful or not actually, because he said F the airport as well, so I genuinely don't know. So maybe it wasn't successful, and that's the reason that Frank got demoted, and he did not get his bonus. He's basically going to do the same job, but half of his pay is going to be very, very crap. And he ended up being mopey the rest of the Christmas. He ended up having to go to this bar. They taught him and this person who I also don't remember the name of, because Why would I recognize the name of anybody outside of the family except for Jimmy? You know what I mean? And Vic. But this guy was talking to Frank, and he knew Frank's father, and he knew what Box 16 actually was. It wasn't Box 16, it was Bach 16. A song. He left him with a song. No dying message, no revelation for Frank to understand, but after his father died, none of that. It was a song that he wanted to be played at his funeral because he thought it'd be a good laugh for some people. That's it. That's what his father left him. And he realized he's been stressing about this and worrying about this for nothing. It's genuinely been for nothing, and everything he wanted was right there in front of him the entire time. His family. And again, the season ended. I feel like this is a joke at this point, because this season ended with the joke. It's not a joke, but it ended with him saying that he was gonna from now on be there, be a better father, listen to Sue more. And at this point, I take it as a joke, because they ended it with almost like with every season saying, oh my god, we gotta listen to our kids more, oh my god, we gotta be better parents, I gotta be a better father, I gotta be a better husband. And it's to the point where it's like, you guys don't grow. I'm not sure if it's because you're in a cartoon, or if it's because, like, I don't know, it's kind of hard for humans, like especially when you're an adult, to get out of something that you've been doing for your entire life. So I guess I kind of understand it from that perspective. But I don't know, at the same time, it's a show, so characters should grow, you know, because it was never really a sitcom. It definitely felt more serialized, but also kind of had the sitcom format. So I'm not really sure why these characters never really grew. They just were put in different situations. Like, the story progressed, but these characters always felt like they were the same, if that makes sense. I didn't mention it earlier, but the fact that his father did not leave him with any sort of message is very much so in reality. Since this is a TV show, we're programmed to believe that a message was left behind, but the fact that there wasn't a message makes this more real. This season went by fast and didn't try to do much but come to some sort of a conclusion with Frank's character, which is fine since he is the main character and most of the other characters' personalities are based off of his. I wish we were left with something, but all I can say is the ending scene felt very similar to the beginning scene of the first episode, where everybody was all scared and timid at the table where Frank sat down after he got off from work. In the first episode, when the phone rang, he picked it up and he was called back into the office, and he had a little angry moment, i.e. a typical Frank moment. In this scene, when the phone rang, he picked it up, but quickly put it back down because he said being with his family for Christmas is more important. Thinking of those scenes together just puts into perspective how much of a journey that he and the rest of the family have gone through throughout the series. Overall, this wasn't my favorite series, but it definitely wasn't my worst either. It came in, had a message it wanted to deliver, and delivered it well. Going through this story, it feels like I grew up with these characters, from feeling like I didn't relate to anyone that much during season 1, to relating to Frank and wanting to see him notice his flaws and try to grow from there during season 5. From what it seems from my research, the show was renewed for season 5, but now that it's over, that's it. This is the last season for F is for Family, and that is reflected by the ending of the show as mentioned earlier. Frank's character has now come full circle and there is no need for more drama-filled season. Even Rosie's story has now come to an end. There are a lot more characters that didn't feel like their story concluded, and a lot of characters that kind of flopped around for the entire season, like Vic and those two idiot blonde kids. Like, who were they supposed to be funny? I don't even know them, and I hated every single scene that they were in. They're just stupid blonde kids. I don't know. But that's stuff that can be left or touched upon if this show ever wants to come back. And with that being said, thank you all for watching. It's honestly been a pleasure scooting around this entire series. That's right, I'm saying corny stuff like that now. It's been a pleasure scooting around for you guys. Goodbye.